The millionaire is stunned when the homeless woman makes his daughter eat again and then. Thomas Kensington stood in his grand dining room, surrounded by chandeliers that glittered like diamonds. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow against the polished marble floors. But inside, darkness crept around him, not from the fading light, but from the emptiness he felt within. For all his wealth, the expensive suits, the opulent mansion in a thriving suburb, he had never felt so hollow. He glanced up the spiral staircase towards Emily's room. Once a fountain of curiosity, she had become a ghost in her own home. His heart panged. He could barely remember the last time he had genuinely heard her laugh, and that void gnawed at him. As he debated whether to reach out to her, the shrill ring of his phone shattered the silence. His assistant reminded him about the charity event he usually dismissed as another chore. "Help the needy," she chirped. "You." Later that evening, as he drove home, he noticed her. A homeless woman, eyes wide and pleading. Clara. Her clothes were tattered rags, but there was an unexpected light behind her gaze. She stood offering a piece of bread to a pack of children, who surrounded her like moths to a flame. It was her last meal. The sight pierced through the fog of his self-importance. Who was this woman willing to sacrifice for kids she didn't even know? He rolled down his window. "Why?" he stammered. "Why would you do that?" She looked at him, her gaze unfaltering, as if she could see straight through his soul. "Because they're hungry too, sir." Her voice was raspy, yet it flayed with a wisdom that felt alien to him. Later, in the park, he saw her again, sitting alone on a bench. The moonlight painted silver lines across her face. "You know, Emily used to love to eat everything," he confessed, choking on the fear of losing her. "Now, it's like pulling teeth just to get her to take a bite." Clara nodded, a knowing look in her eyes. Food is life, but it's also a connection. She's lost something more than just appetite. At that moment, a flicker of hope ignited in Thomas's chest. Clara had the uncanny ability to speak truths he'd buried beneath layers of busyness. Just then, a sharpened tension filled the air. The vibrant sounds of laughter and chatter from a group of people echoed nearby, and he suddenly felt suffocated by his isolation in the crowd. Clara leaned in closer. "Go home. Connect with her. It'll be all right." But before he could ask how she knew the way to mend his fractured family, she slipped into the shadows, vanishing like mist. Where had she gone? Was she a real person or a ghost sent to guide him? Thomas drove home, the night feeling heavier than before. The question swirled in his mind. What if her words held the key to unlocking emotional doors he thought were sealed? What was missing from his life and his daughter's? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important alert. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're here, drop that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Thomas Kensington sat in his car, the engine humming softly. Clara's words echoed in his mind like a ticking clock, relentless. Connect with her. He didn't know how. The simple act of sharing a meal had turned into a battleground of emotions, and his heart ached for something more than just a white tablecloth and gourmet food. He parked in the driveway, the mansion looming over him like an emotional fortress. As he stepped out, the crisp evening air nipped at his skin. He hesitated, gazing toward the front door. Shadows danced in the windows, but silence wrapped around the house like a heavy shroud. Inside, he found Emily sitting at the kitchen table, a plate of untouched food in front of her. "Hey, sweetheart," he ventured, his voice cracking like dried twigs. She looked up, her eyes a stormy sea, swirling with confusion and hurt. "Dad, I'm not hungry," she replied, the words sharp and final. "Can we just talk?" he asked, the lump in his throat making it hard to swallow. But just then, the lights flickered, plunging the room into a loud crash echoed from the living room, sending his heart racing. "Emily, stay here," he shouted as he rushed towards the sound. Breath quickening, he yanked the door open to find a strange figure hunched over the shattered remnants of a family portrait. The figure turned, revealing a disheveled man with wild hair and wide, frantic eyes. "Thomas Kensington," he breathed, as if the name was a prayer. "You need to listen. Clara is in danger." "What do you mean? Who are you?" Thomas felt a chill creep up his spine. "I was with her last week. She's not who you think she is. She's hiding something." The man's voice trembled, desperation leaking through every syllable. Thomas stumbled backwards, the words slicing through the air. "What do you know about Clara? She was not always homeless. She was married to a man, a powerful man. But she took something from him. Something he wants back." The man's eyes were wild, glinting with fear. No, that can't be right." Thomas held onto the wall for support, reality churning. Memories of Clara's kind eyes now felt tainted. "I'm telling you, he'll come for her. He's looking for her everywhere. And if he finds you, if he finds Emily—" The man's urgency stalled Thomas's thoughts. He felt a rush of adrenaline. There was a connection between Clara and his daughter he hadn't seen before. What was it? "Get out of my house," Thomas yelled, confusion and anger spilling over. The man stumbled back, wild with fear, as if Thomas's anger directed his fate. "Please, you don't understand what's at stake." Silence crashed around them again. The broken frame lay at their feet, the images of happier times scattered in fragments. Thomas felt the weight of the world crashing down, his chest tightening. Did Clara harbor secrets darker than his own shame? "Who are you? Why should I believe you?" The man looked puzzled for a heartbeat. Then his expression flickered with recognition. "Because Clara isn't just a homeless woman. She's the key to Emily's past and maybe your future. She once had everything, but she lost it all." With that, the man turned on his heel and sprinted out into the night, leaving Thomas standing in the dimly lit room, a storm of confusion swirling within him. Everything shifted. The ground felt unsteady beneath his feet. Did Clara possess the answers he'd been seeking? Or was he stepping into a deeper abyss? His thoughts spiraled. What if Clara was a part of a world he never knew? What if, just what if Emily could lose him just as quickly as she had lost her appetite? The silence lingered, heavy and thick. The fate of his family hung in the balance, and Thomas felt the time ticking away. He needed to find Clara, now. Thomas felt the weight of the broken portrait still heavy in the air. Doubt coiled around him, squeezing tighter. Clara was in danger, and somehow so was Emily. His mind raced. He needed answers. Now, the house felt colder than it ever had. Each step closer to the kitchen felt like a journey through a mist of fear. He walked in to see Emily sitting there, still lost in thought, the untasted food untouched. "Sweetheart," he began, voice strained. "I'm sorry. I need your help." Her head snapped up, eyes sharp as blades. "Help? How can I help you when you won't even help me?" Before he could respond, the front door slammed open. Thomas and Emily exchanged terrified glances. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hall. A figure stepped through, tall and menacing, shadows twisting around him. "Thomas Kensington," his voice thundered. "You interfered where you shouldn't have, and now you've put your daughter at risk." The man looked familiar. He was the one from the park. But now his eyes burned with anger. "You don't know what you're dealing with." He stormed further into the kitchen, shoving past Thomas. "Get out!" Thomas yelled, instinctively stepping in front of Emily, protecting her from this storm. But then, another voice. "Dad!" Emily gasped, pointing. "Look, Dread pooled in Thomas's gut as he turned. At the kitchen window stood Clara, drenched, hair clinging to her face, eyes wide with fear and desperation. But something was off. Her expression, a mix of distress and determination. As she stepped forward, the moonlight caught something glimmering in her hand. "No," the man screamed, his face twisting with rage. "You can't show him." Suddenly, Clara raised her hand, revealing a locket. It swung gently, reflecting light, as if it held secrets. "Thomas, I have to." Before Clara could finish her sentence, the man lunged at her. Time froze. Thomas felt his heart stop. He shouted, "No!" In a flash, Clara opened the locket, and chaos erupted. A blinding light filled the room, illuminating every corner. Thomas shielded his eyes, stumbles back, but a cry escaped his lips. Emily screamed. The light flickered, then went dark. Silence fell, but it wasn't just any silence. It felt charged, heavy with anticipation. Slowly, Thomas blinked to adjust. The room looked different. Shadows danced oddly. He blinked again. No one was there. Only the locket lay on the floor, still glowing faintly. Emily. Panic flooded Thomas's voice. Where was she? He reached for her chair. It was empty. His heart raced. He scrambled to the door, bursting into the hallway. "Emily!" Panic clawed at him. The house felt so vast and empty. He dashed to the living room, then to the stairs, calling her name. No response. The locket pulsed softly at his feet, calling to him. With trembling hands, he picked it up. As he did, a memory washed over him, a vivid scene of him and a woman laughing in front of the very portrait that had shattered, a woman who looked strikingly familiar to Clara. His breath hitched. What was happening? What did this mean? As Thomas's thoughts spiraled, he stumbled back, clenching the locket tight, drowning in fear and confusion. Had Clara been tied to him in ways he never imagined? Was she even who he thought she was? He needed answers. He had to find Clara and Emily. And then, deep in his gut, a chilling realization struck him. I may have opened a door I can't close. Thomas tightened his grip on the locket, his heart racing as he stared at the entrance. Had Clara been a part of this twisted story all along? He had to find her and Emily. Had they been taken somewhere? Emily! His voice echoed through the empty halls, each unreturned call sending a surge of panic through him. He burst through the living room again, searching every corner, every shadow. Emily. As he neared the staircase, he thought he heard a whisper. Light, flickering from the study, he rushed toward it. His breath came in short gasps, each thud of his heart matching the echo of his footsteps. The door creaked open, revealing a dim light spilling from the room. It was cluttered with old books and papers, but something else caught his eye. A crumpled photograph lay on the floor, partially hidden beneath a desk. Crouching, he picked it up, fingers trembling, and then the world around him spun. The image was of a young woman, her bright smile exuding warmth. Beneath it, a date was scrawled, 20 years ago, before he even knew of Emily's existence. In her hand was the same locket he had found. No, he breathed, feeling a chill creep up his spine. He stumbled, his mind racing, wrestling with fragmented memories. The woman in the photograph wasn't just anyone. It was Clara. But how? Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Was someone else in the house? Thomas shoved the photograph into his pocket and turned back toward the door, heart hammering in his chest. Suddenly, Clara burst in, disheveled and panting. Her eyes were wild, but there was also something deeper, something almost desperate. Thomas, you have to listen to me. Where's Emily? Panic leaked into his voice. She's safe. Clara struggled to catch her breath, her gaze darting toward the window. But we don't have much time. Safe? Where? Who was that man? Someone who knows too much. About me. About us. Us? The word hung between them, heavy and charged. He struggled to piece it all together. Listen, I shouldn't be here. You must understand. I was never just a homeless woman. I was once someone powerful in my own right. A part of him wanted to lash out. This felt like betrayal. Then why were you on the streets? Because I lost everything, Thomas. My past came crashing down when they took Emily. I had to hide, for both our sakes. Hide? The pieces were falling into place, but nothing made sense. What do you mean? Emily is connected to a legacy, one that has consequences. My husband, he was powerful. But when he lost me, he turned his back on everything, chasing shadows. He's searching for this. She gestured to the locket in Thomas's hand. It holds the truth. Just as Clara spoke, a deafening crash shook the air. The front door flew open, and two burly figures barged in, their expressions cold, their eyes fixated on Clara. "Get away from her!" Thomas roared instinctively. The men didn't flinch. "We're not here for you, Thomas," one spat, advancing slowly. "We are here for her." Before he could react, Clara took a small step back, her face pale. "No, you don't understand. I have protection." "Protection? We know your secrets, Clara." The air grew thick with tension. Thomas felt the world tilt. How had everything unraveled so quickly? Clara raised her voice, a mix of fear and defiance. "I'm not the one you want. You never wanted me." Then it hit him like a punch to the gut. She wasn't who he thought she was. The woman in the photo. The locket. It all held answers he couldn't comprehend. Clara had pulled him in, veiling the truth in layers of mystery. The man's hand shot out and Clara flinched, pressing herself against the wall. "You know the truth, Thomas," she cried out. "You're a part of it now." At that moment, the ground beneath him felt like it was crumbling. He reached for Clara, but those men lunged forward, ready to seize everything that was hidden, everything that connected them all. The locket pulsed in his pocket, and an overwhelming realization swept over him. Emily was tied to a past he never knew, and with Clara caught in a web of old secrets, everything he thought safe was fading. "Thomas." Clara's voice was barely a whisper now, as the walls around them echoed with the weight of unspoken truths. Everything was about to change, and the very core of their existence teetered on the brink. What awaited them on this dark path? The only thing he knew was that he had to act now. Clara's gaze met his, a mix of fear and longing, like she was trying to bridge a chasm that had grown between them. "Please, you must trust me," she pleaded, her voice coming out in a rush. The men advanced, and with each step, the tension tightened around them like a vice. But just as Thomas opened his mouth to respond, the front door slammed shut behind the approaching men. A figure emerged from the darkness, silhouetted against the entryway. The atmosphere shifted. It felt electric, alive with anticipation. "Stop," yelled a voice, strong and commanding. A woman stepped forward, her presence like a beacon amid the chaos. She swept into the room with an air of urgency, her expression determined. "Who the hell are you?" one of the men shouted, taking a step back, confusion etched on his face. "I'm here to end this," she replied, unwavering. Her eyes flared with an intensity that shook Thomas to his core, and to protect what matters most. "Protect?" Clara echoed, stepping closer, bewildered. "You brought this into my life." The newcomer, tall, fierce, with wild hair, ignored Clara's ire, fixing her gaze on the men. "You think you understand this game? You have no idea what you're really after." In that moment, a sudden loud bang erupted from behind the woman. The house trembled, as if the very structure could sense the unfolding tension. It was too much. Thomas took a step back, barely breathing. The woman turned, her urgency shifting to fear. "No, he found me." With shocking speed, she lunged towards Thomas and Clara, grabbing the locket from Thomas's hand. "You need to listen to me. Clara, she's not the only one who has secrets. This locket, it's not just a necklace. It holds memories, but not just hers. It holds yours, Thomas." "Mine?" The word came out as a gasp. "Yes, you don't understand. The memories it holds, they can change everything. Your past is intertwined in ways you couldn't imagine. The men flinched at the mention of the locket. Stepping back cautiously, Thomas felt a jolt of confusion. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Suddenly, everything exploded into chaos. The front door burst open with an ear-splitting crash. A figure rushed in, and time seemed to freeze. When the dust settled, Thomas could hardly believe his eyes. Standing there, panting with eyes wide in shock, was a girl, one who looked eerily familiar. "Dad?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Emily. No, it can't be." Thomas felt his heart drop. She was older, maybe 15, but the resemblance was undeniable. This girl, this stranger, was Emily. The room erupted in a cacophony of disbelief. The newcomers stepped back, shock plastered on their faces, and Clara's expression shifted from fear to recognition. "Emily." Clara's voice cracked, understanding dawning. "You were taken, but how? Who?" Thomas felt like the room spun around him. He gripped the locket tightly, a whirlwind of horror and realization battling within him. "Emily, why are you here?" He could barely get the words out. As she stepped closer, the light caught her features, and he saw not just her face, but the weight of years, the innocence of childhood replaced with a hardened resolve. "I can't stay, Dad. They'll find me again." "Who?" The girl took a deep breath, stepping between Clara and the advancing men. "You both don't know the truth. The locket, it unlocks everything." "It's not just Clara's past, it's yours too. You have to remember, before it's too late." Everything in Thomas's world shifted. Relationships, identities, truths began to crumble. How could Emily be here? And what secrets tied them all together? "Emily!" he cried out, fear flooding through him. "You don't have to." But before he could finish, the walls trembled again. A chilling voice broke through the chaos, familiar yet haunting. "You've opened a door, Thomas. Now there's no way to close it." Thomas turned, and something inside him shattered. The man from the park stood behind his daughter, an empty smile curling on his lips. "You thought you could run from the past? No one escapes." Panic swept over the room. All the rows of secrets and lies were spiraling into one moment. And as fear wrapped around them, uncertainty gripped Thomas's heart. What was happening? What had he unleashed? Everything was at stake now, and the path forward felt shrouded in darkness. He knew that this was just the beginning of a nightmare he couldn't escape from. Thomas felt the room constrict around him. Emily's presence was a shock, but it was the man's looming threat that clutched at his heart. The word father slipped uninvited from Emily's lips, igniting a cascade of emotions he didn't know how to tame. "Stay back," Thomas yelled, stepping forward, trying to shield his daughter. But the man's malicious grin only widened under the weight of the mounting tension. "Do you think you can protect her?" he sneered. "You're too late. The past has a way of catching up, no matter how hard you run." The stranger's words struck deep. Clara stood frozen, fear etched into her features. Thomas's pulse raced, matching the thud of chaos in the room. The locket in his pocket felt like a living thing, pulsing rhythmically as if alive with its unspoken power. "We're not afraid of you," Clara said, her voice breaking but fierce. "This isn't your fight." "Oh, but it is," he hissed, pointing at Clara. "She's the glue that binds your fates. You're playing with fire you can't control." "Thomas!" Emily cried out again. Her voice trembled, pulling his focus back to her. "We need to go, right now." "What do you mean, go?" Panic clawed at him. "Emily, we can't just—" But before he could protest, the strange woman who had intervened stepped forward, eyes flashing with desperation. "We can't let him get to the locket. You have to trust me." Suddenly, the front windows shattered in a violent burst, glass exploding inward like a rain of daggers. Shrieks filled the air, sharp and desperate, as the room filled with panic. Thomas barely had time to register the danger when another figure swept in from the darkness. A flash of movement that sent them all reeling back. The newcomer wore a mask, shrouded in shadows. You think I would let you change destiny? The voice was cold, almost mechanical, chilling Thomas to the core. Who are you? He gasped, mind racing. Just someone sent to retrieve what belongs to the master. Master? Clara echoed, voice rising in alarm. You don't know what you're playing with. Then it happened. A blinding flash erupted around them. Thomas clutched the locket as a force pulled at his soul, a tearing sensation ripping through him like thunder. Then silence fell. He opened his eyes, disoriented. Around him, nothing felt real. The familiar warmth of the kitchen and the chaos were replaced by a surreal, foggy landscape, as if they were trapped in a dream. Emily. Panic surged again as he scanned the surroundings. The darkness seeped in, making it hard to focus. Then, a voice cut through the stillness like a knife. Dad? He whipped around. There was Emily, but not the girl he'd just seen. This was an older Emily, one who looked just as she did in the photograph that he'd found. The girl who looked strong, resolute, yet desperately afraid. What happened? He stammered. Are you? She stepped forward, but the distance between them felt insurmountable. No time to explain. You were chosen, Dad. We all were. Before he could respond, the masked figure materialized again, eyes locked onto Emily. You'll never escape your fate. The words sent a shiver down Thomas's spine. Somehow, it felt like the truth. All this time, they had been moving in circles. And now they were teetering on the edge of something far greater. Get away from her, Thomas shouted, the protective instinct taking over as he stepped forward. Do you truly know what's at stake? The power in that locket. The masked figure paused, breath hitching with tension. It could destroy everything, or save it. In that moment, the shadows began to swirl, revealing the looming presence of the first man who had appeared in his home, eyes filled with dread. You have no idea how deep this runs. Thomas felt his entire world tilt. The past hadn't just been forgotten, it had been a trap. The realization hit him like a freight train. Emily was not just a pawn caught in a crossfire, she was the very key. Thomas, Emily screamed, tears brimming in her eyes. You have to remember. Then, a blurred moment, a flicker of images flashed through his mind. Laughter, warmth, a child's hand slipping away. All at once, the ground beneath him quivered, tipping everything he thought he knew. Emily, he cried, reaching for her, but she was lost in the fog, spinning away, swallowed up by shadows. No. As it all began to unravel around him, one thought anchored him through the chaos. The truth was both terrifying and exhilarating. The locket pulsed in his hand, and this time, it wasn't just a necklace. It was a beacon. It held not just memories, but choices that could either save them or lead to devastation. With newfound determination, Thomas closed his hand around the locket and faced the shadows. This isn't over. But as the darkness surrounded him, there was one question lingering in the air. What had he truly unleashed? Thomas felt the room constrict around him. Emily's presence was a shock, but it was the man's looming threat that clutched at his heart. The word father seeped uninvited from Emily's lips, igniting a cascade of emotions he didn't know how to tame. Stay back, Thomas yelled, stepping forward, trying to shield his daughter. But the man's malicious grin only widened under the weight of the mounting tension. Do you think you can protect her? He sneered. You're too late. The past has a way of catching up, no matter how hard you run. The stranger's words struck deep. Clara stood frozen, fear etched into her features. Thomas's pulse raced, matching the thud of chaos in the room. The locket in his pocket felt like a living thing, pulsing rhythmically, as if alive with its unspoken power. We're not afraid of you, Clara said, her voice breaking but fierce. This isn't your fight. Oh, but it is, he hissed, pointing at Clara. She's the glue that binds your fates. You're playing with fire you can't control. Thomas, Emily cried out again. Her voice trembled, pulling his focus back to her. "We need to go. Right now." "What do you mean, go?" Panic clawed at him. "Emily, we can't just—" But before he could protest, the strange woman who had intervened stepped forward, eyes flashing with desperation. "We can't let him get to the locket. We'll have to trust me." Suddenly, the front windows shattered in a violent burst, glass exploding inward like a rain of daggers. Shrieks filled the air, sharp and desperate, as the room filled with panic. Thomas barely had time to register the danger when another figure swept in from the darkness, a flash of movement that sent them all reeling back. The newcomer wore a mask, shrouded in shadows. "You think I would let you change destiny?" The voice was cold, almost mechanical, chilling Thomas to the core. "Who are you?" he gasped, mind racing. "Just someone sent to retrieve what belongs to the master." "Master?" Clara echoed, voice rising in alarm. "You don't know what you're playing with." Then it happened. A blinding flash erupted around them. Thomas clutched the locket as a force pulled at his soul, a tearing sensation ripping through him like thunder. Then silence fell. He opened his eyes, disoriented. Around him, nothing felt real. The familiar warmth of the kitchen and the chaos were replaced by a surreal, foggy landscape, as if they were trapped in a dream. "Emily!" Panic surged again as he scanned the surroundings. The darkness seeped in, making it hard to focus. Then, a voice cut through the stillness like a knife. "Dad?" He whipped around. There was Emily, but not the girl he'd just seen. This was an older Emily, one who looked just as she did in the photograph that he'd found. The girl who looked strong, resolute, yet desperately afraid. "What happened?" he stammered. Are you? She stepped forward, but the distance between them felt insurmountable. "No time to explain. You were chosen, Dad. We all were." Before he could respond, the masked figure materialized again, eyes locked onto Emily. "You'll never escape your fate." The words sent a shiver down Thomas's spine. Somehow, it felt like the truth. All this time, they had been moving in circles, and now they were teetering on the edge of something far greater. "Get away from her," Thomas shouted, the protective instinct taking over as he stepped forward. "Do you truly know what's at stake? The power in that locket." The masked figure paused, breath hitching with tension. It could destroy everything, or save it. In that moment, the shadows began to swirl, revealing the looming presence of the first man who had appeared in his home, eyes filled with dread. "You have no idea how deep this runs." Thomas felt his entire world tilt. The past hadn't just been forgotten. It had been a trap. The realization hit him like a freight train. Emily was not just a pawn caught in a crossfire. She was the very key. "Thomas," Emily screamed, tears brimming in her eyes. "You have to remember." Then, a blurred moment, a flicker of images flashed through his mind. Laughter, warmth, a child's hand slipping away. All at once, the ground beneath him quivered, tipping everything he thought he knew. "Emily!" he cried, reaching for her, but she was lost in the fog, spinning away, swallowed up by shadows. "No!" As it all began to unravel around him, one thought anchored him through the chaos. The truth was both terrifying and exhilarating. The locket pulsed in his hand. And this time, it wasn't just a necklace, it was a beacon. It held not just memories, but choices that could either save them or lead to devastation. With newfound determination, Thomas closed his hand around the locket and faced the shadows. This isn't over. But as the darkness surrounded him, there was one question lingering in the air. What had he truly unleashed? And then, from the depths of the encroaching shadows, as the world tilted and flickered, a piercing scream erupted. Whipping through the V, a figure Thomas had never expected to see again. "Help me, Daddy. I'm scared." Emily's voice, combined with a dark presence creeping closer, shadows shifting to reveal a small girl with tears streaming down her face. The haunting image twisted the knife deeper into Thomas's heart. It was Emily, the same girl from the photograph. But more than that, this Emily looked up at him, eyes wide with terror. She was not the young girl he knew. She wasn't even the older Emily who had just arrived from the fog. She was a lost child, the daughter he thought he had lost forever. The locket in his hand began to pulse with a new intensity as everything around him started to tremble. Time seemed to fold in on itself, and the shadows danced erratically, shifting with memories he couldn't comprehend. The past and present twisted together. In that instant, every piece he thought he understood shattered in a single breath. He reached for her, but the air thickened, distorting his vision. The small girl whimpered, her eyes searching his face for answers. His heart shattered. I am, but I don't understand. With that, the world fell silent once more. And in that quiet, the truth began to unravel, with the realization that nothing would ever be the same again. The pathway forward twisted into a dark unknown, leaving only the heavy, suffocating weight of the truth waiting to be discovered. The world spun around Thomas, uncertainty gripping him. Emily, he whispered, his heart a heavy drum. The child looked like her, sounded like her, but this was a dream, a cruel twist of fate. The shadows loomed larger, almost mocking in their presence. I'm scared, Daddy, the little girl whined, her lip trembling. I want to go home. Just hold on, all right? He reached forward, desperate to make this real, to pull her into his arms. But the moment he did, the shadows twisted violently, pulling away like a dark curtain. Daddy, she screamed, and just like that, she was gone, swallowed by inky blackness. Thomas felt a pinprick of fear shoot through him. The room warped, and he found himself standing alone again. Emily, he shouted, panic clawing at his throat. But no answer came. His chest tightened. The locket pulsed like a heartbeat, alive with urgent energy, and for the first time, he felt its heat seep through his fingers. Then, the figure, a masked intruder, moved closer. It loomed, a specter of danger. You have to decide, Thomas. What do you want? The voice was somehow familiar, echoing through the chaos. What do you mean? He spat out, anger surging. I know you've opened the door. The masked figure held out a hand, revealing a thin, delicate object resting in the palm. A silver ring, glinting ominously in the dim light. This could bring her back, but at a cost. His heart raced. What cost? Your memories. The figure stepped closer, shadows swirling around them both. You'll never remember her if you do this. You can't have both. No. Rage bubbled inside him. You can't make that choice for me. But, as he shouted, a ground-shaking thud resonated through the house. The walls shivered, and pieces of the ceiling began to rain down, dust and debris battering them. Inside, Thomas felt the weight of desperation settle deeper. Choose, the figure yelled, holding the ring closer. In that moment, a flash ignited in the back of Thomas's mind, a memory. A warm light, laughter shared in a sunlit kitchen, Clara's smile. But it was fleeting, disappearing like mist under the morning sun. I need my daughter, he cried out, tears pricking at his eyes. The masked man's eyes hardened. Then take it, all the years you lost, everything you loved. But it means Clara stays lost forever. A sudden rush of understanding coursed through Thomas like electricity. No, Clara's not the only one who matters. The realization slammed into him. As a tide of fear washed over him, he recognized something dark and buried within himself. Emily, he shouted, voice breaking. You're my light, not just a choice. His hands trembled. He lunged forward, grabbing the ring. The moment his fingers touched it, a shockwave coursed through him, and the whole house trembled. He collapsed, overwhelmed. But just before everything went dark, he caught a glimpse of Clara standing at the edge of the darkness, eyes filled with an unbearable sorrow. The last thing he heard before the world shattered was her whispered words. "You don't know the truth, Thomas. You never did." And then everything went black, erasing the line between past and present. A chilling silence enveloped him, leaving only the haunting echo of Clara's voice lingering in the air. What had he set in motion? And more frighteningly, what had he lost? The darkness enveloped Thomas, culling him deeper into a void where time was meaningless. He blinked, hoping to wake up from this nightmare, but nothing changed. The last image he held, Clara's face as she whispered the truth, stung like a haunting echo. What had he unleashed? Then from the shadows, a voice broke the silence, sharp and accusing. "You really thought you could escape?" It was Clara, but not the Clara he remembered. This was a harder version, eyes filled with sorrow and something darker. "Clara," he breathed, heart racing. "Your choices have consequences, Thomas." Her voice cut through him, raw with an emotion he couldn't place. And now, the words hung heavy as the air thickened around him. He felt the locket tugging at him, its energy shifting. It was calling, but why now? "I never meant to hurt you," he yelled, but the words sounded weak, even to him. "I just wanted my daughter back." "Your daughter?" Clara scoffed, stepping closer, shadows twisting around her. "You don't even know what you're asking for." The room morphed, shifting from shadows to light, the sudden brightness blinding. Then everything jammed to a halt. Thomas blinked away the spots in his vision. And then he froze. The young girl, the one who'd looked like Emily, stood there again as if waiting on a nod from him. "Help me, Daddy," she whimpered once more. His heart cracked wide open. "Emily." But then confusion clouded his mind as the girl glanced back at Clara, a frown creasing her small face. "Is she lying?" "Lying about what?" Thomas pressed, looking between them, panic stoking uncertainty. She is hiding things. About you. About us." Each word fell like stone. "Hiding things? What do you mean?" With each passing second, the weight of the moment thickened. Clara stepped forward, hands raised defensively. "You can't trust anyone here. You have to remember the truth, Thomas." Before she could finish, everything erupted. The windows shattered again, but this time it wasn't just glass. Visions swirled around him, laughter, sadness, warmth, all crashing together like waves. Thomas staggered as memories washed over him, and then he saw it. The moment, a younger version of Clara held not just the locket, but a wedding ring, the same one he'd seen in the stranger's hand moments before. "You were married?" he gasped, breath shuddering in disbelief. "Yes," Clara shouted, but her voice shattered with agony. "I thought you were dead. I had to protect her, protect you both." Thomas's mind spun. Protect us from what? Clara's expression flickered, torn between pain and determination. "From me. From my past." In an instant, the other man, the dark figure, materialized closer, his intent clear. "You're too late, Clara. You've revealed too much." This time, the figure stepped forward, flipping the script. He revealed a silver watch. "This belonged to you, Thomas. You just don't remember." The weight of it crashed into him. "What do you mean?" "It's all connected. You're more than just a father. You were part of something bigger, before it all fell apart." Before he could comprehend the significance, the quaint imagery shattered like glass. Emily's pleas mixed with the echoes of Clara's past. "Wait!" Thomas shouted, heart racing. "What are you saying?" But the masked figure leered, a perverse glee lining his features. "You don't get to choose." "Thomas, not anymore." In a swift motion he hurled the watch, and everything exploded into a white-hot light. Blinded, Thomas grasped for the fading voices, the twinkling memories of the girl who called for him. Each sound morphed into screams, but not just any screams. One voice stood out among the chaos. "Help me! Daddy! Everything plunged into darkness, where light met the shadows, and between them lay a painful truth. And when the light flickered back into existence, he found himself back in his home. Everything was unchanged, yet everything felt new. Emily, he called out, flinging open the door to the kitchen, where Clara stood alone, eyes hollow and dark. Don't, Clara warned. But it was too late. Emily, he repeated, fear wrapping around his throat. But suddenly, realization crashed down. Clara wasn't just involved, she was the key to the entire story. Where is she? Panic twisted through him. But as realization dawned on him, Clara's next words shattered everything. You never lost her, Thomas. She was never gone. Then where is she? A desperate plea. Clara hesitated, sadness flooding her face. She's behind the door. Before he could truly understand, he reached for the handle. The world shifted under his feet. His emotions screamed. And then he opened the door. What awaited him would change every belief he had ever held. Emotions and memories swirled together in a whirlwind of chaos, exposing the truth about everything. The future they had built, crumbling into dust. Thomas, you have to decide, Clara yelled. But it was too late. Everything splintered at his feet. As the door swung open, and he stepped through, one resounding thought echoed in his mind. What if everything he thought he knew was just the beginning of a much darker and more twisted reality? The door swung open, and Thomas stepped through, breathless and uncertain. The air felt charged with emotion, each heartbeat pounding in his ears. The familiar kitchen was there, but the shadows lingered, stretching longer than they should, whispering secrets of a past he struggled to grasp. Emily, he called, his voice raw with desperation. The emptiness echoed back, mocking him. Panic clawed at his throat, each second dragging like an eternity. Daddy! A voice broke through the stillness, but not the voice he recognized. It was a lilt, softer, almost distant. He turned, eyes wide, and saw the little girl again, that lost child. She was scared, her wide eyes glistening with tears. He reached for her, but the air thickened. You're here, he gasped, feeling the warmth of hope flicker inside him. I won't let you go. Then an explosion of sound shattered the moment. Clara's shout mingling with the heavy thud of the men from before. The shadows shifted ominously, closing in. But the girl took a step back, confusion etched on her face. What do you want from us? She whimpered, glancing between Clara and Thomas, as if sensing the danger. Clara stepped forward, her usual strength faltering. You have to trust him, Emily. He's fighting for you, fighting for us all. The masked figure, still looming, moved closer. Enough of this charade, he snarled, eyes narrowing. You dare to defy what's been set in motion? The walls vibrated, shadows dancing like flames. Thomas clenched the locket in his hand, its heat rising, a tether to all he loved. This is not over. Suddenly a rush of light enveloped him. The locket pulsed, pulling threads of reality together, stitching the spaces between fear and hope. In that blinding light, time blurred, emotions twisted, swirling around him. Dad! Emily's voice rose above the chaos, slicing through the fog. She reached for him, determination in her gaze. Please. He dove for her, cutting through the veils of darkness. I'm here. I won't let you go again. He felt the warmth of her small hand grab his as the shadows clawed at them, threatening to pull them apart. Together, Clara shouted, grabbing his other hand. In that moment of connection, the shadows recoiled, and the masked figure faltered, shock washing over his face. No, he roared. You cannot? But it was too late. The energy surged, drawing strength from their bond. Their collective will ignited like a spark catching fire, and the light enveloped them, erasing the shadows, the danger, the fear. And then, silence. Thomas blinked as the light faded. They stood in an empty, sunlit room, the echoes of the chaos dissipating like fog. The air was clear, and he felt the weight of eternity lift. Emily, he whispered, heart racing. She looked at him, confusion replaced by understanding. Daddy, is it really you? He pulled her into a hug, warmth flooding his chest. Yes, love, I'm here. I'll always be. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she held on tight, and he felt Clara's presence beside them, a healing balm for their wounds. You saved us, she said softly, relief washing over her. But Thomas felt the lingering shadows of their journey. What now? He asked, looking around their safe space. Would it last? Clara stepped forward, her eyes fierce. Now we build. We mend what was broken. And just like that, hope blossomed in the cracks of their past. They had fought through the darkness together. But deep down, Thomas knew the past would always linger. Let's start anew, he said, looking into their eyes. They nodded, determination firming their resolve. They would rise. But as they stepped towards the future, a flicker caught Thomas's attention. A shadow danced momentarily outside. Wait, he said, turning back to Clara and Emily. Do you think? The question hung in the air, a reminder that some shadows never truly disappear. And just like that, their new beginning shimmered with promise, yet shrouded in mystery. As the screen blacked out, a voice echoed in the silence. Don't miss out. This is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to know this outcome. You need to subscribe right now.